Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin, and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. How has your week been? Have you had a crafty week? Oh my god, I have been sewing my little fingers off this week. I am preparing for 2 shows right now, a trunk show at the Knitting Basket next Saturday, and then at the end of April, I have the Knitters Frolic in Toronto. So I have been doing a ton of prep, which also means, unfortunately, that my normal knitting time has been greatly diminished. But usually, once April's done, that picks back up. So hopefully I will have lots of new projects to share with you after April. So what am I going to start with today? Last week, I briefly went into, kind of at the spur of the moment, the crafty bingo that I'm doing in the Bling group on Ravelry. Every year I do a goal-oriented challenge, and this year I'm doing one in the bingo format. So I thought I would share with you my actual bingo card, just so that you can see a little bit more of the goals that I'm going to be trying to achieve this year. So I am going to try and put a picture in. We'll see. This will be testing my editing skills here. I'm going to try and put a picture in so that you can see my goals and my squares more clearly. So basically, if you're interested in the bingo, just head over to the Bling group. There is no time restriction on joining this challenge. You can pop in and post a message at any time and say you want to join, and I'll create a card for you, and you can just fill it in with all your goals. Even if you wanted to join like right at the end of the year, if you think you have time to complete 24 goals, no matter what kind of goals they are, feel free. Basically, your goals are what fit your lifestyle and how much time you have and what kind of projects you want to do, so it can be anything. So I'm going to try and pop a picture in, and basically you can see from the picture that I've tried to space out my goals. I have a lot of sock goals, and I've broken them down into specific, like what types of socks and pattern socks or top-down socks, because I usually do toe-up socks. I have garment goals, some for Avery, some for myself. You can see from the happy faces with the big thumbs up that those are the goals that I've completed at this point, and the check marks are ones that I'm working towards, so those might be a multi-part goal, and so the check marks have kind of shown how many parts that I've completed. So I am slowly working towards it. Now I am getting to the point where the goals that are left are ones that I really don't want to work on as much, but that's why I made them a goal, because they're things that need to get done. Like there's some specific whips, some older whips that I started last year that are gifts that I really want to do this year, but there's other things I want to work on. And there's some old whips like the owl blanket. I have been working on that thing for years, and it is just time for it to be finished. I might show you that one week and just show you my progress, because that has been a long-term project. So that gives you an idea of just what I'm doing, and I encourage you to go check out the group, because just everybody has such a variety of goals. It's very interesting just to see what people are trying to achieve this year, and also the progress they're making. It's a very active thread because people are constantly posting, and basically it's self-governed. You mark down how you do with your goals, and at the end of the year I will be doing a draw based on the completed rows. Every row is an entry for the prize, the year-end prize. And every row you complete is an entry, and so at the end of the year I'm just going to be going through the cards, seeing how many entries people have, and doing a draw. So for the year it's a fun, friendly competition. What I'll probably do going forward is just give you a little update maybe every quarter about how my card's going, but yeah, so that's what we're going to do with that. So moving on, what have I got for you today? I'm going to share with you one of my scrappy projects. I have some progress on my stripes and threaded socks, which is very exciting. I have a bit of spinning to show you today, and then I have my next collection for the shop. So let's get started, shall we? I'm going to just take a sip of my tea. Today I've got, what do I got today? I think it's French toast carbon. Oh my god, it's delicious. I love French toast. And let me just say, I am facing a tea emergency. I've been working really, really, really hard over the since the beginning of the year to not make purchases that I don't need to purchase. And one of those purchases is tea. I buy a lot of tea. And so I've been trying to drink all the tea from my cupboard. And I'm at the point now where I have no more tea in my cupboard. So it's an emergency, and I think last week I was looking online and I found a new tea source to try, and they had samples where you could buy, instead of like a 50-gram pack, you could get a little sample pack. I was like, perfect. So I have some new tea coming and I can't wait to try it. So anyway, back to knitting. First project. I mentioned I was going to share my scrappy project. I have 2 scrappy projects. Like everybody else, right? Like everybody has these same 2 scrappy projects. Whatever, I'm a lemming, it's fine. I have my mitered square blanket, which I'm going to share with you today, and then I also have a granny stripe blanket. And I started these last year with the intention of being able to use up the leftovers that I had from my fingering weight projects. And my intention is that my mitered square blanket is going to be for Avery when she leaves the house, which hopefully she will do at some point, but she tells us she's going to live with us forever, but so who knows, the blanket might stay in our house. But the intention is for her to go when she leaves the house, either to university or whatever, that she's going to have a blanket that Mommy made for her from all the projects that she's seen me work on over these many, many years. And then my Granny Stripes blanket is going to be for me to keep, and basically whatever I don't use in my mitered square blanket will go in my Granny Stripe blanket. So in the end, I have very minimal scraps left over, and it is wonderful. I highly recommend a scrappy project if you tend to accumulate lots of sock weight scraps. So what I'm going to show is just my progress thus far, and then maybe I'll show it at the end of the year, after Christmas, because I tend to do a lot of work on it over December. It's quite big now. I think I started right around where that gold semi-solid square is. I think that's where I started. And I worked outwards, and you'll see, I'll bring it over here. You can see that there is a black line running through the middle there. What I did after I finished all the work, see going along here, last year at the end of the year, when I finished at the end of December putting my last square in, I made it even. I went around the edge and did a row of single crochet in black. And my intention with that was to kind of define where I started on the blanket and how it grew from that point on. So my intention is every year, at the end of the year, whatever I finish, I'm going to try and make it even, but I'm going to go around with black. So there's a visual representation of where I started and how many years it took to complete this blanket for her. I thought that would be nice. She might not even care, but I don't care. I thought it was nice. And as part of that, let me just find my square. Of course, now I can't find my square. There it is. Okay. So as part of that, what I did is I made a little tag in the corner. Okay, so let's see here. You can kind of see that. There we go. So I made a little tag that I sewed in the corner of the first section that I completed last year, and it just says 2017. So that's kind of like my starting year. She'll be able to see when Mommy started this blanket, and then with the black outlines after every year, how many years it took to complete. So I just thought that was a nice touch just for my sake, like it's something that makes me happy. And then what I've been doing this year is I started my new row. My new row starts here, and these were the socks that I made for my friend Tiffany that I gave her in January. And then these 3 here have been the socks that I've been finishing for the Desert Vista Dye Works year-long challenge. So January, February, and March. And then April, and it will all continue along there. And what I've done is I have counted how many squares that challenge is going to take me to, and I put a little stitch marker right here, so that if I want to add any squares from other projects, I can add them from this point on, because I want all my DVD socks to be in right beside each other. So that is my progress this far. It's probably going to grow very, very slowly. I found last year my goal was to do 50 squares, and I kind of worked on it on and off throughout the year, But then in December, Sarah from the not the Crafty Knitter. Who's the Crafty Knitter? I don't know who the Crafty Knitter is. Sarah from the Canadian Knitter. Yes, pretty sure that is it. How is my brain not bringing that information? She did an Advent knit along for the cozy, for just scrappy blankets. And the idea was to put 24 sections of whatever scrappy project you were working on over Advent. And so I got a lot of squares done over that time period, and my intention is this year coming that December is going to be my month for my scrappy projects, and I'm going to hopefully finish all my gift knitting before then. And so December, before Christmas, when all the craziness is happening, I can just, any spare moment I can just put into the happy projects, because my scrappy projects are very much happy projects for me. Few details if you're interested. My squares are 54 stitches, so I do 27 stitches on each side of the decrease in the middle. And I know a lot of people have purchased fancy needles for their scrap blankets. I purchased just some Haya double pointed needles, and I put little stoppers on the end to make them short straight needles. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Do you see this one? Do you see how he's a little different than this one? That's because Mr. Trouble got to it, and he took a chomp out of it, but it's fine. It still works. Anyway, so that's my scrappy blanket. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and I'll answer them, but that's my little blanket in a nutshell. Next project. So I showed you last week my plans to start the Stripes and Stranded Socks by Carmen of the New Leaf podcast. They're colorwork socks. You use striping yarn and a semi-solid yarn or solid yarn to make colorwork socks that just, they look a lot more complicated than they really are. So I started them. I cast them on, and oh my god, they are so addictive. I've had to hold myself back from working on these because I like to put so much work into each of my projects. But I've started them, and I think they look so much fun. Oh my goodness. Alright, so I'm using White Birch Fiber Arts in Electric Slide and a Vomise in, I don't know what color, but it's like kind of a semi-solid pinks and oranges and reds and stuff like that. I love red and aqua together. So these had to be a project for me. I just had to figure out what it was, and when I saw this pattern, I was like, oh, this is what they've got to be. Okay, are you ready? This is what I have so far. Alright, look at those. Are those not so much fun? Love them. Love them, love them, love them. This is probably 2 evenings of work, and I have to stop myself. Like, I want to keep going. I have to stop myself and be like, no, it's time to go to bed, or nope, you know, you gotta go do some work, whatever. But they are so much fun. So basically, what you do is you're using different needle sizes. You start the toe on what would be your normal needle size. So I used a 2mm for the toe. And then right when you start the color work, or when you switch to your striping yarn, you go up a size or 2 sizes. So I'm using a 2.5 for the body of the sock, and this is a zing needle, and they match my project, but whatever. Okay, so you go up to, I went up to a 2.5 once I started my striping yarn, and then all you do is in the pattern, Carmen provides you like a bazillion charts, ranging from 3-row charts up to I think 8-row charts, depending on how thick your stripes are, or just to give you a variety of charts, because you don't necessarily have to stay within the stripe for the chart. Like, you could just continue doing the chart and have it overlap into another color. But because my striping is 2 rows, it's kind of like this grayish stripe here, and then this aqua stripe, and then there's these dark lines dividing them. I wanted to stay within the stripe. So what I've been doing is kind of within the gray stripe, I pick a chart that is mostly like single stitches, like you can see here or here. It's a lot of single stitches instead of blocks of stitches. And then in the aqua, which where I want the color work to really pop, I'm choosing charts that are more blocks of stitches. So it's so much fun because after each stripe, I get a few rows of just plain knitting, so I can just knit, 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 knit. And then when the next stripe starts, I get to look at a chart and try and figure out, okay, which chart do I want to use, and do I want to use a 3-row chart and double it, or do I want to use a 7-row chart, or do I want to put a 5-row chart right in the middle? It's just a lot of fun, and I can say I am not a colorwork knitter. I don't hate it, but it's not something I'm normally drawn to, and it's not a process that I usually enjoy. I haven't found a way to knit colorwork that I find easy and enjoyable. Like how I do it, it works, it's fine, but it's not the most pleasant experience for me. There are other types of knitting that I enjoy more. So the fact that I am actually really enjoying these socks, I think says something to the pattern, because it's just it looks fancy, but it's not. It's so easy. And I think the socks are going to look really, really cool. Now, they look huge. Like, I keep looking at them going, oh my god, these look like they're for, like, giant feet, right? But I think it's just because the color work, it's not as, it's more rigid than when you're just knitting with a single strand of yarn. And so I think it looks bigger because it doesn't have that stretch. Because when I put these on my feet, they do fit. And normally if I was just doing a single strand on 2mm, the sock would be much narrower and still fit. So I think it'll be okay. I'm going to keep plugging along, and I think it's a short row heel, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, I think it's just going to be, they're going to be really fun socks. They're going to be so much fun. I encourage you to go check out the pattern page, because everybody who's made these so far has used completely different yarns and completely different contrast colors, and they all look so neat. It's just a really, really neat pattern. So yeah. So those are my stripes and stranded socks. Hopefully I'll have more progress. I'm going to keep showing you these until they're done, because I think they're just really neat, and they're going to look different every time. So hopefully next time I will have more progress. Next week's going to be a busy week with sewing though, so we'll see. But hopefully. Alright, now, next I have some spinning for you. I think I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it in my intro video, that I do spin. I've been spinning since 2014. I don't do it as often as I knit, but it's something I enjoy, especially if my spot on the couch is taken by someone. I'm a Sheldon. I have a spot on the couch where I do all my knitting. And if my husband or if Avery has located themselves in my spot and I can't knit, because I can't knit anywhere else, right? Sometimes what I'll do is I'll sit and spin, and it's actually a good way for me to put a little work into whatever my project is, a little bit, every couple of days or so. So what I'm working on, and I have spinning goals on my bingo card, and one of them is 2 gradient yarns, and so this is going to work towards that. This is a gradient yarn. What I'm working on is this little package here. So it's Frabjous Fibers, and it's a bamboo and superwash and nylon mix. So I think you could actually use this for socks. I'm not going to make socks with this. But this is what's left, and it's a gradient. So most of what you see is the purpley pinks. This is the one that I'm going to be doing next, and you can see how there's some blue in there. And if I just get my little wheel up here, this is what's on there right now. And you can see that it's mostly blue. It started with, I think it started with a darker blue, and it's gradually getting lighter and going into the purples. But it's going to be a really pretty gradient. And I'm spinning it, not super, 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 super thin, but this is kind of the thickness I like. I like when it's thin enough that it's not going to give me a bulky yarn, but it's thick enough that I don't really have to worry about it snapping as I spin. I can do a very, very, very fine yarn, but there's always that threshold of like, is it going to be too fine and break, right? So this is kind of my happy place where it's not too thick, not too thin, and then my plan is to 3-ply it. So I'm going to chain ply it, and I'm thinking because it's got the bamboo in it, and it kind of has a sheen and kind of like a luxe look to it, I think I'm going to do one of my beaded chain plies. I've done these before. They're a lot of fun. It just makes the yarn sparkly and just, I like how it looks. Have I knit with one of my, yeah, I have knit it with one of my beaded chain plies, so I can say they're still pleasant to knit with. I tend to trade a lot of them just because it's not something I normally use in my knitting, but I do enjoy doing them. I might end up trading this one. We'll see how it looks. But I was going to say, let me know if you would be interested in seeing a video on how I chain ply with beads, because I use a little tool called the Fliggle Beater, and I use, I think, 6/0 beads, my Yuki beads. I can show those next time. I haven't picked out the beads yet. But if you're interested in seeing a video on how I do that, maybe I can do that. I don't know. We'll see. But let me know if you're interested. But yeah, I'm hoping to get this one done by the end of the month so that I can move on to another one of my spinning goals for my bingo card. And yeah, I think that's it about that. So finally, I have my next collection. I was working on this week, and it has just, the fabric for me is so, it's just a very happy fabric, and especially with the weather right now, like I'm looking out my window and it's the first week of April and it's gray and it's snowing again. I know some of you have a lot more snow than this, but it's just time for the warm weather to start, right? Right. Come on, spring. Where are you? Anyway. This bag, this fabric, these colors totally remind me of summer. I'm calling this collection Happy Little Hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. We get them in our garden and they're so much fun to watch. And they're just happy little birds, right? Right. So, let's see here. This is the fabric here. So it's like a corally orange, and then there's some lime accents, some blue accents, some kind of reddish accents, and I picked those up in the bottom fabric there. And the inside is like this kind of greeny, tealy with yellow floral. So that's the bag. The yarn, I did 2 sock lengths. Isn't that fun? I did 2 sock lengths, and these are double knit sock lengths. So there are 2 strands together. So if you were to hold the 2 strands together and just knit straight from the blank, you would get like a worsted weight yarn. And then if you separated them, you would get 2 fingering weight yarns with, so if you did socks with that, you'd get matching socks. Usually with sock lengths, you don't get matching socks, but with a double one, you do get matching socks. So I've got 2 double knit sock lengths. And then I did some more sock sets, because last week the sock sets went really quickly, and so I did 3 of those this week. So this is the yarn here. So again, the coral with just the little pops of color. Let's see another one. Coral with pops of color. See, there's a bit of blue up there. And then I did an aqua mini. So yeah, I just think it's just such a bright, happy color, especially with the weather. Just we need bright and happy right now. So let me know what you think of those. And then for the next one, I was actually looking at my fabrics. You guys have been giving me some really, really great ideas for the collections, and once I have a couple of those gathered up, I'm going to be placing an order for some fabrics. So until then, I've been looking through the fabrics I have in stash, and I pulled these 2, thinking they would be a nice new collection, and I can't decide. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring them both up, I'm going to show you, and you can tell me which one you'd like to see in a collection, and I'll do this for the next one. So first choice is kind of like a bright, bold floral. Lots of pinks, oranges, yellows. There's like a green in there with a black background. I think these would make really, really nice bags, and then also really cool sock blanks and yarn. I have some ideas of how that would translate. And then the other option is kind of like this rainbow floral. I also think this would make really cool yarn and bags and stuff. So I can't decide. So let me know in the comments if there's one that I should do first. I'll probably end up doing both, but if there's one you think I should do first, and then I'll work on that, and that will be the next collection. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this second episode. I hope you have a crafty week. I hope you get to make all the things, and until next week, I will talk to you later. So have a great week. Bye.